Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really fascinating, maybe a bit intense even, this idea of a magnetic presence.
Right. They sort of effortless pull some people have.
Yeah.
And the material we've looked at suggests it runs deep down to what it calls a seductive subconscious mind.
Yeah, seductive subconscious. It sounds potent. And that's why we really need to start with a heads up, a serious one. This isn't about playing games with people.
Not at all. The sources are really clear on this. If you approach this the wrong way, without integrity, it can actually lead to, well, emotional manipulation, spiritual imbalance. It can even be quite destructive, personally.
It's serious stuff. We're talking about shaping your inner world, the very core of who you are.
Exactly, the very core. So yeah, the gravity here, it's significant. It demands a lot of self-awareness.
Okay, so where does this journey even begin? And this is where it gets maybe a bit uncomfortable, definitely counterintuitive based on what we explored. It seems the starting point, the hidden doorway, isn't strength or confidence in the usual sense. It's suffering.
Yeah, it's a really profound angle, isn't it? That suffering, emotional pain, heartbreak, loss, that kind of thing, isn't just something to get over. It can be a crucible.
A crucible? How so?
Well, the idea is that these experiences, they kind of force you into a state of raw vulnerability. And if you actually own that vulnerability, integrate it, don't hide it.
Instead of pushing it away.
Exactly. That becomes the root of this magnetic presence. Think about it. People are often drawn to those who've clearly faced something difficult and come through with, well, a kind of grace.
There's a depth there, a wholeness you can feel. Like they've wrestled with darkness and integrated it somehow.
Right. They radiate something authentic because they aren't pretending to be untouched.
Right.
But, and this is the first big warning sign.
Okay.
If you try to bypass that pain, just suppress it, pretend it didn't happen. Your subconscious, it doesn't heal. It stays fractured.
And that energy.
It comes across as neediness, desperation almost, and that repels people. So the warning is stark. Don't fake the healing. You have to face the pain. Otherwise, that unresolved energy just leaks out. It kind of taints your interactions.
Wow. Okay, so facing the pain is foundational. That makes sense. So if that's the entry point, what's the engine driving this? It comes back to the subconscious mind itself, right?
The core mechanism.
Yeah.
And the way it's described is fascinating. It's the emotional mind. It doesn't really reason or analyze things like our conscious mind does.
It just accepts.
Pretty much. It accepts whatever you feed it repeatedly, especially if there's strong emotion attached. Think of it like fertile ground. It doesn't judge the seeds.
And a lot of those seeds were planted really early on, weren't they? Like birth to age 7, that period.
Exactly. Your subconscious was just wide open, absorbing everything from your environment, your family. If you picked up negative beliefs, then I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. Those got lodged in there pretty deep.
And they just keep playing in the background, like a low-frequency broadcast.
That's a great way to put it, a constant hum. And unless you actively work to change that program, it's the signal you're sending out. People feel that vibe, even if they can't put their finger on why.
Okay, so that's the huge challenge then. How do you actually reprogram something that fundamental? How do you shift that signal from potentially repelling to genuinely, authentically seductive?
Well, that brings us to the practical steps, the principles laid out in the material. And importantly, each one comes with its own caution, its own potential pitfall.
Right, let's break those down. What's the first one?
First up, take full responsibility for your energy. And this can be tough for people.
Yeah, the no one is coming to save you part, no partner, no guru, no external fix. It's all internal work.
Precisely. The idea is every single time you react out of fear or bitterness or insecurity, you're not just feeling it in the moment, you're actually reinforcing that pattern in your subconscious.
If those reactions become part of your identity almost.
They do. They become your default setting. But seductive energy, as it's described, is the opposite. It's calm, it's grounded, it feels inwardly whole. And you don't just find that state, you have to actively program it daily.
And the warning here.
It's sharp. If you keep blaming your past, your parents, your exes, whatever, for how you feel now, you stay stuck. You keep broadcasting that same old repelling vibration, owning your energy, taking that responsibility. That's the first seductive act. It's reclaiming your power.
That's powerful. Okay, so if you're taking responsibility for your energy, the next logical step is watching what you let in, right?
Exactly. Which brings us to principle number 2. Filter what you feed your mind. Our conscious mind is supposed to be the gatekeeper. It has this amazing ability to reject negative thoughts, toxic influences, before they sink into the subconscious.
But we don't often use it that way, do we? We kind of just let everything flood in.
We really do.
Yeah.
Think about it. Endless news cycles filled with negativity, social media triggering comparison or fear, maybe friends who only complain or gossip. All of that, it's food for your subconscious. If you want a seductive subconscious, you have to be incredibly selective about what you feed it. Treat your inner world like a sacred garden,
Filter harshly. Be intentional about the input.
It's not about burying your head in the sand, but about conscious curation of your mental diet.
Okay, makes sense. So take responsibility, filter inputs. What's next in reprogramming?
This is where it gets really active. Repetition plus emotion, seductive programming. This is the core formula.
Right, just like how the subconscious was programmed in childhood through repeated messages, often with strong feelings attached.
Exactly. So you use the same mechanism consciously. Visualization is key here. Seeing yourself vividly as that ideal version, calm, confident, grounded in your power. Imagining how you move, speak, how people respond positively.
But it's not just thinking about it, is it?
No, that's the critical part. You have to feel it deeply. Add music that stirs that feeling. Maybe move your body in a way that embodies it. That emotional charge is what makes the repetition stick.
And it's not a one-and-done thing.
Absolutely not. Repetition is everything. You do it daily, consistently, until that image, that feeling, starts to feel more real, more you than the old programming. The danger is doing it superficially, just going through the motions without real emotional engagement. That just won't cut it.
Needs that visceral connection. Got it.
Yeah.
So you're programming, visualizing, feeling. What else?
You need to monitor what's actually happening inside. Principle 4, watch your emotional state like a hawk.
Okay, so becoming hyper-aware of your feelings.
Aware, yes, but not just aware. Seeing them as signals. If you suddenly feel anxious or needy or bitter, that's not random. That's one of your subconscious programs running.
And the instinct is often to push those feelings down, distract yourself.
Right. But the instruction here is different. Don't suppress. Track it. Trace it. Ask yourself. Pause. Okay, what thought just triggered this feeling? Where did I learn to react this way?
Become an emotional detective.
Exactly. And once you identify it, you consciously override it. You bring up that ideal image, that feeling you've been cultivating. It takes discipline, serious discipline, because distraction is always easier. But that consistent emotional awareness, that's how you build that solid, seductive, subconscious core.
It's active work, constantly tending that inner garden, which leads to the final step.
Step 5, rehearse the ideal self until it becomes you. And again, the caution. This isn't about being fake.
Right, it's not fake it till you make it in a manipulative sense.
No, the material stresses that authentic seduction. It's about uncovering who you really are beneath all the layers of old programming. It's becoming more you, not less.
So how does the rehearsal work?
It suggests maybe picking a role model, someone whose energy resonates with you, calm, powerful, magnetic. Not to copy them slavishly, but as a sort of energetic template.
And then?
Every day, you visualize yourself embodying those qualities, behaving like them in challenging situations, speaking with that same groundedness, holding your physical presence that way. You rehearse it internally, consistently.
Until it becomes second nature.
Exactly. Eventually, that rehearsed image, that ideal self, fuses with your subconscious. It stops being a rehearsal and starts being who you actually are. That's when the deep transformation, that natural magnetic pull, really begins to manifest.
Okay, these steps, they paint a picture of really intensive inner work. Responsibility, filtering, programming, awareness, rehearsal.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it could genuinely create a powerful shift in someone's energy.
Immensely powerful. And that's where we absolutely have to land on the final, most crucial warning that runs through all the material we looked at.
Which is?
The seductive subconscious, when cultivated, works. People will be drawn to you. Opportunities will arise. It can feel intoxicating.
Sounds good. But there's a but.
A huge but. The explicit warning is, do not use this power to control, manipulate, or feed your ego. This is the ultimate pitfall, the biggest danger.
What happens if someone does, if they build this inner state but then use it, for selfish reasons, to get things from people? The sources are very clear. Seduction that comes from ego, from a place of wanting to control or take, it will eventually collapse.
Collapse how?
You might attract things initially, attention, relationships, maybe even success, but you won't be able to sustain it because the energy itself is corrupted. It's built on a rotten foundation. It'll essentially implode. Your inner world decays.
So the only sustainable way, the only authentic way, is if it comes from
Inner wholeness, from genuinely facing your own stuff you're suffering, from taking responsibility, from choosing your thoughts with care, from that disciplined emotional awareness we talked about. It has to be about your transformation first and foremost.
Not about what you can get from others.
Exactly. That kind of energy, the kind that flows from genuine inner work and integrity. That's what people find truly, deeply irresistible. And more importantly, that's the energy that actually transforms you in a lasting, positive way.
So the final message is really stark.
It is. Use this potential wisely, with integrity. Or frankly, don't even go there. The responsibility is entirely on the individual wielding that inner power.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up for you, our listener, this deep dive into the seductive subconscious really shows it's far from a superficial technique. It's a path of profound self-work, demanding honesty, responsibility, and constant awareness. It's a path with real power, but also, as we've seen, significant risks if that integrity wavers. It's about becoming truly whole, not just appearing magnetic.
And maybe that leaves us with a final thought to mull over. Given how powerful our subconscious really is, its ability to draw others in, what responsibility do you think comes with deliberately shaping that inner world? How do we ensure that kind of power serves genuine connection, serves growth, rather than slipping into control or manipulation?
Something to definitely keep thinking about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.